Hello and thank you for listening to Dragon Wagon Radio. My name is Jake Lloyd Bacon, co-founder of the network, just popping in briefly because it is that time of the year once again. March 2024 marks the 7-year anniversary of Dragon Wagon Radio. For 7 years, we've done the best we can to bring you the most professional podcasts possible. We continue to cultivate communities of people from all over the world, bonded by their love for a wide variety of topics. Dragon Wagon has produced 20 different podcasts, over 1,800 individual episodes with millions of downloads, all completely free to you. So we humbly ask, in honor of our 7th anniversary, that you consider showing your support and playing a part in keeping our shows free always. There are tons of ways that you can help. First and foremost, please check out our shop at dragonwagonshop.com. A fantastic collection of high-quality merchandise is available to you for reasonable prices. You can also visit our support page where you can find a link to make a donation directly and even an Amazon wish list. That's at dragonwagon.com/support. Some of our shows have individual Patreon accounts where they offer additional material. Please consider becoming monthly patrons if that's available. Additionally, leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify costs you absolutely nothing and goes a really long way to help. Lastly, consider sharing your favorite podcasts with your friends. Share clips or quotes on social media. Most shows have their own accounts, but you can also follow at It's Dragon Wagon on all major social media platforms. So thanks again for another fantastic year, for being a dedicated listener, and as always, for being the best part of Dragon Wagon Radio. Happy anniversary, and here's to another great year of your favorite indie podcast network. Now let's get this show started.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to High School Never Ends, a pop punk dad podcast. I am Wingman Steve.
And I'm Chris183.
And this is the last episode of Fueled by March, but we are not done yet. We are just getting started. That is figurative and for true as well. We are here to talk about an album that actually everybody suggested when we said we're doing Fueled by March. Everybody who said you need to do this album, this album, Punchline's Action was on everybody's list. So here we are, and we have a very special guest. We are joined by Steve Soboslai of Punchline. What up, Steve?
Hello. Thanks for having me on. I'm flattered that everybody requested to do this album. That's super cool.
Dude, this album is like it's a classic, you know? I feel like I've talked to so many people and they're like, you know, Punchline is like a band that like people who like music like Punchline. I don't know if that's a cliche or not, but I've been seeing you guys since 2004. It's been like a million times, and it's celebrating an anniversary this year. I wanted to ask, it's kind of weird because Spotify says Action came out in 2002, but everything else I find says February 24th, 2004. So it's 2004, right?
That's correct. It's 2004, February 24th.
Very good. Okay, so
yeah.
Well, I wonder why Spotify does that then.
I don't know.
Yeah. They want it to be 2002? I don't know.
I don't know. The Rewind EP first came out in 2002, and then we re-released it on Fuel by Ramen in 2003.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'll write to my friends over at Spotify. I don't have any friends over at Spotify.
Thank you.
But
we're always writing to them about things like that.
Thank you for my 1 cent royalty checks. But yeah, Punchline Action this is a very special album. So we're happy to sit down and discuss it with you. And I personally kind of feel like we've met in person once or twice, but I've listened to your podcast and you guys have like a movie documentary out, and everybody at Punchline is just like so friendly, and it kind of just seems like you guys are everybody's friends.
Oh, that's super sweet. I mean, we really like what we do, so it's easy to talk to other people about music, other music lovers, you know?
Yeah, Chris and I are not musicians. We are just music enthusiasts. So,
cool.
You know, when we talk about songs and stuff like that, we use terms that the layman's know. But then we have folks like you on to help us point us in the right direction. So let's kind of start at Fueled by Ramen, right? So we're doing this series called Fueled by March, and I wanted to kind of start and see if you have any memories of like, how did your interactions, you know, when you guys were looking to sign with a record label, how did that come all about? And how did you guys ultimately choose Fueled by Ramen?
So we were playing regional, and we would send out press kits to record labels, and we would pack them. You send these boxes full of candy and these like elaborate, colorful notes. And at a certain point, we realized like we're not really worthy of being on a label yet. Like we shouldn't try to like get them to sign us. We should like earn, getting this record deal. So we swore off. We're not reaching out to any labels until they come to us. That was our one day we had that mission. And eventually, after we did a couple tours that were pretty extensive with this band Unsung Zeros from Florida, and we were playing Gainesville as one of the last stops on the tour. And one of our biggest fans, Amanda Yu, she was on the Fuel by Ramen Street team, and she had showed some of the Rewind EP to some people at Fuel by Ramen, which there were very few people who worked there. I mean, the office at the time was, the size of my living room. I would say something similar to that. There were maybe like 4 or 5 people who worked at the label in Gainesville, Florida. So they sent some people out. It was super cool for us because we were at the end of a tour. So we had been playing like every single night. And that's when you want somebody to see you. You don't want them to see you on the first night. You want them to see you on the last night when everything is dialed in. And I remember we played, and there were always shows where you knew so-and-so was in the crowd and like, hey, we got to play good tonight. And, that didn't always happen. Rarely did it happen. But I remember on this night at the Purple Porpoise in Gainesville, Florida, that we had a great set, and we knew that some people from the label were in the crowd. But I mean, I don't think there were, it wasn't like a packed, crazy show or anything. We just had a good old time. And then Unsung Zeros played, and I think it was the last night of the tour. So it was a very special night for in Punchline history. And then a couple days later, I was back in Philadelphia at our manager's house, and I got a call one cold morning from a Florida number, and it was John Janik, the label owner. And he said that, they really liked our music, and they had seen our DVD. We made a DVD called the Rewind DVD, which we were a little ahead of the time with that. We had some access to some cameras and friends who had a production company, and they made a DVD about us that was like an hour long thing with all these sketches and stuff. But they really liked that. So we had a meeting or a phone call with them about doing some kind of deal. I don't remember like where the first call left off, other than we were super excited because that was one of the labels that we like had identified as well. Like that would be super, there's all these labels that it would be wonderful to be on, but that one would be like extra cool to be a part of. But they did sign us to a deal to put out the Rewind EP, like the EP that we had already put out, but we remixed it and they re-released it. And then that built up to putting out the big first full length, which the record deal was for the EP and then two full lengths. So Action was the first full length. And we, had been in the process of like really recording, and we really saw like how important the recording was. So we were super excited of the prospect of working with Sean O'Keefe, who we met through Fall Out Boy, when they were recording Take This to Your Grave with him, which we stopped in the studio while they were recording that and got to hear some of that, which was super cool.
It is super cool that you were there for some of that. But I got a question for you. So in terms of location, so for everybody out there that may not know, are you guys, you're from the Western Pennsylvania area, all of you in the band, or no?
At the time, yeah, we were all Pittsburgh boys.
Pittsburgh. So I'm a Pittsburgh boy too, or whatever at this point in time. But my question is, like, when you guys started playing shows out in the Pittsburgh area, super curious as to where you played. So what are some of the venues that you guys played in the Pittsburgh or Western PA area?
Club Lago was our main spot. It was a club in Oakland on like near Pitt's campus that held about 1,000 people, but it closed down in 2004. But leading up to that, it was at the apex of the whole emo and punk, like the Vagrant Records tour coming through and just going from like 400 people, 600 people, 800 people, sold out, sold out. Alkaline Trio, Saves the Day, like seriously every band. I went to school at Pitt just so I could go to that club. So we started playing there, and we were all going to college in the city, and we got to play so many shows there because we could actually like sell the tickets to get on the shows opening for the bands that people were coming to see. So I remember going to shows there and seeing some bands who were always on shows and be like, oh man, this band again. But then we totally became that band at Club Laga, but then it very sadly closed. But some other places that we played like before that were the American Music Cafe and the Millvale Industrial Theater and a lot of fire halls, the Charleroi VFW.
The
outside of
Millvale
Pittsburgh.
Industrial Theater, is that Mr. Smalls?
No, it was near there, but it was this just industrial warehouse where, we played with Alkaline Trio there, Midtown, Newfound Glory, I think Hot Rod Circuit at the time.
Okay. Steve, I asked that question because Mr. Smalls Theater is also in Millville. So a lot going on.
Right. We played Mr. Smalls a bunch. We actually played the first ever show at Mr. Smalls. So totally, that one's on the list.
And I'm sure this is fascinating for people that aren't in the Pittsburgh area, but I don't care. I want to know. How about Altar Bar? Did you play at that one?
Oh yeah. Oh, we definitely had our Altar Bar era. That was like 2009 to 2012. We were always playing there. In our podcast right now, we're working on the Delightfully Pleased episode, which that was the era that lines up with Altar Bar.
Yeah, I think it's a church again. If you want I'm not sure, but it may just be. So
I drove by it yesterday, and it is.
Okay, there you go. Really cool though. It's nice. It's an American Music Cafe. I'll tell you, I was there so many times. My brother was in a high school like cover band, and they would play every Friday, like that American Music Cafe, and it was a fun time. But that's out in the middle of not nowhere, but it's you have to know where it is to find it. But that was a cool venue too. So,
there were just so many places that were open to having bands come and play, and they got all the bands. They were so laid back at American Music Cafe, and then this industrial warehouse where we were playing. Like, yeah, sure, come play here. It's just a warehouse.
When did your schedule really start to ramp up with touring and like going outside of Pittsburgh area to start playing shows?
2001, we did our first US tour that was totally DIY. And then, by 2004, I think we had leveled up to having a booking agent, which was incredible to get that off my back.
That's crazy. A DIY US tour. So you guys, that's a big risk with that, right? I mean, just going out there.
It was insane. When we got home from tours, I was like, I can't believe that we're alive. It's great.
That's awesome though. That's how you do it.
Yeah, we did it so many times.
2004, that's a good time too. That's the first time I caught you guys live. It must have been right after this album came out, and I guess right around Take This to Your Grave. You mentioned seeing them record that because you guys toured together. So you guys, that was like one of those, like, man, I can't believe I saw all those bands together. There were also two bands in the middle as well. But back to like some of the Fuel by Ramen stuff. So obviously they offered you the record deal. You came on board. Did it feel like it was like a family, like that's where you were supposed to be? Or were you kind of, looking around like at other labels?
No, we weren't talking to any other labels. And it felt very, very nice. And they were very friendly and there was nothing strange about it. You hear you hear horror stories, and from the very beginning, everything was very nice and cordial. And so Fuel by Ramen was started by John Janik and Vinny, from who was in Less Than Jake. And so I think that maybe Vinny had heard of us also, like through, some of the bands. So we knew John, but then we were also getting to know Vinny there, which was super exciting because we got to do like some shows right out of the gate with Less Than Jake, which was super exciting because they were one of the bands in high school. And, when we started Punchline, that they were, one of the band. I mean, we played Automatic at our first show, Less Than Jake song.
And who were some of your favorite bands when you were a young one?
I loved, like in early high school, I was really into Pavement and Weezer and Green Day, and then Blink-182 and MXPX, those bands by the end of high school when we started Punchline. And then, but I think that ultimately, like bands like the Get Up Kids and Death Cab for Cutie, more of like the rock bands and indie bands, are the ones that pulled me in that direction.
Okay, you answered my question before I asked it, because I think it's always fascinating to think about what's the music that pulled you towards making the music that you do. You have to make that decision at some point in time. Like we're going to be a country band. We're going to be
right.
pop. We're going to do rock. There's got to be some sort of influence. So there you go.
Yeah, I think for Punchline, big ones are Jimmy Eat World and Green Day. And, at the time, the Rewind EP and Action with Paul, our guitar player, was obsessed with all these bands on Deep Elm Records that we got into. And they all had these little musical, like these transitions in their songs, these little like musical elements where like the timing would change or a key change and stuff that you had, like were very interesting to your ear. So we were always talking about music theory and trying to come, insert these little nuggets and like, take parts and take influence from and put them into our punk songs, which is, why I think that became kind of a part of our sound of that era.
Gotcha.
Awesome. All right.
This was kind of neat so we met Fall Out Boy through Unsung Zeros. And then shortly after we signed to Fuel by Ramen, we signed the contract it was Christmas Eve. I don't remember what year it was, but it was on Christmas Eve, which I thought was kind of funny. But one of the first phone calls that I had with John, where we were talking about plans, he told me that they were signing a band called Fall Out Boy, but we had already had plans to go on tour with them. So I told him that was really convenient because we already had a tour with them, which seemed crazy fortuitous and just speaks to like how, it really is a small world that, we had found them and they had found them. So then, that train had already like started before Fuel by Ramen came into the picture, which is pretty neat.
Definitely. And that Christmas Eve signing, so did you know in advance, or did you just get a call? Like you were Christmas Eve, like with the family, and all of a sudden, hey, you got to come sign these papers because we're going to sign you. Like,
no, it was like our manager at the time was coming through Pittsburgh, and it was a time when we were all home and could get together. And some of our dads came to look at the contract, and we all met up. But it all seemed pretty standard. We weren't very business minded about the contract at the time. Like we could tell that it was standard. It didn't seem like there was anything strange going on, but I would definitely say at the time I didn't have my head around like what it all meant.
I'm sure. Did you care about how many physical CDs that you guys would get as a result of signing? Because didn't we hear that, Steve, one time that was a big part of signing a contract?
They would give you copies of your own album.
Yeah.
No, I think that our experience was that we would, which seems typical, was that we would buy CDs, for like $5 a piece. And as long as we had enough CDs on tour with us, we were happy. I mean, it was cool that we weren't having to, before that we were having to buy them 1,000 or 2,000 at a time or something, which our DIY effort up until that point was pretty extreme. Proud of us for that.
Sure.
You guys are grinders. From listening to all the stuff, you guys definitely ground it out, and rewarded with that contract, which is pretty cool.
Thank you.
So let's talk action a little bit.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it was produced by Sean O'Keefe, who worked with Fall Out Boy, Spitalfield, Motion City Soundtrack, very very well known. And again, I don't want to repeat the things that I've heard on your podcast, but I do want to just bring them up maybe for people who haven't listened to it. But this was kind of your first time working with like a producer who was giving you guys like direction on the snare hits and some stuff like that, right?
That's right. I mean, we had worked with some producers and we were, mindful about what we were doing, but he really did put us through it as far as like taking our somewhat zany, the EP before that had songs that were like 6 minutes long. So he, put us through it. And there were a lot of instances where he would say, hey, let's take this, instead of making this a part, let's just make this a transition. So instead of like a 30-second part, let's take it and make it 3 seconds long. Working with him was it was great. It was super cool.
And were you guys open to that kind of thing? Like, I know sometimes there's that's why I'm asking you. I don't assume anything, but it's like, well, I don't want to change that because I really am passionate about this part of the song or this or that. Do you find it was hard to make those concessions and make those changes?
For me, it's always depended on the situation, the producer, how the producer comes at it, and what their idea is. To me, there's so many details about that can change as long as the core of the song is intact, and even pieces of the core itself can be tweaked. But Sean, I think, had a pretty delicate. No, I'm not going to say delicate. Here's what happens is that it all comes down to the drummer, because the drummer starts first. So I go basically last, playing guitar and singing, but the building the foundation of the songs begins with the drummer. So he took a lot of the heat for it. And he would probably not say that Sean was delicate, but he would say that he learned so much from Sean.
And hey, bonus question before you get any further. Bonus question for you, Steve. Were you always going to be the singer for this band? Was that always going to be the thing? Or
when we first started practicing, like at our first practice, we were like, me and Chris were just not the drummer. So we both had mics. So we just started trading off. And then at a certain point, when we got a manager, he said that it was confusing that we all switched off all the time and that somebody should be the singer. And I guess they said that it should be me. Because I was writing a lot of the songs.
Yeah.
What's that?
Did the manager never hear of Mark Hoppus and Tom DeLonge?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get that. That's such a style of the era that we were in. But I would say, in the grand scheme of things, outside of the Beatles, which are probably my favorite band, so there goes any case that I could make right now. But I see how it makes sense, and I'm kind of glad that we did it, because we would eventually lose a bunch of guitar players who were the other voice. So I'm like, it kind of kept me being the constant.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And you guys recorded this record in Chicago, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was in Chicago near the intersection of North and Western. But at the time, like with Action, that was me and Paul were kind of like, it was almost like every part we both sang together in harmony.
It's one of the classic things about this album. There's a ton of harmonies in it, for sure. Chris, you have any other questions? You want to kind of get started and go through the album song by song a little bit?
Let's get started. I kind of want to take it, chunk by chunk. But I guess I don't know if we're going to go song by song or what, but the question I have about the album itself is, you take a look at the order of the songs. Was there any science to how you put this album together, song by song, or was it? Did it just, this is how you felt that it should be? I mean, kind of curious.
I know Open Up was written to be the first song, and I, I think Just Getting Started was written to be the last song. I think everything else we, like always, where does it feel like this should go? And, you always want track two to have a nice flow out of the first song, which we did. We wanted for track two to have just come in with vocals for Not Afraid. And then tracks three and four, you always want to put as like your big songs. That's what they did in the 90s and when we first got into music.
Yeah.
And you going back and playing this whole album recently, I have a lot of opinions about how I would reorder the tracks now, because to me, the songs that are the signature songs are mostly in the back of the album.
Do you want to keep those opinions to yourself, or do you want to
Oh,
share?
no, not at all. I'll share them. I really love Time in a Picture. Getting There Is Getting By, A Beautiful Green, Just Getting Started. Those are probably my 4 favorites. And they're all in the back.
Yeah, I guess.
But do they work? Do they work better sprinkled throughout?
I just wonder what the perception might have been of our band had it been reordered a little different. I don't know.
That's pretty interesting. See, that's fascinating to think about that too, like how things would have been different. Would you have put those all at the beginning? Is that what you're trying to say? Would you put them all in the front half of the album?
I'm just having the time, having the 20 years to think about it. I can really get a sense for what songs are the most meaningful to me. And that's what got me thinking on this.
Love it.
Makes sense. And you've done so I was able to see you guys do this full album. You guys had several tour dates this year. How does it feel going back and playing the whole album? Because I know even when you guys do regular, your regular tours where you're playing a whole set list, with all of Punchline discography, there's a few of these songs that make it, but how does it feel going back and doing all of them?
It feels great. It feels pretty comfortable. A lot of muscle memory going on. Having heard the song so many times, for me, I'm more likely to know the chords than the words. But after a few times, I can re-internalize the words too. Like I said, seeing these songs or hearing these songs with fresh ears after all the time, so fascinating to see. Like, there's still parts that we'll talk about how like, oh, we didn't get that part quite right, or we still kick ourselves about some little parts. I don't know if I'll be able to remember any of those in this conversation, but I think that that's still kind of funny.
Do you change them around at all? I mean, just being a show goer, I didn't notice anything that was striking other than
very slightly,
areas.
like, the opening of some song had, goes for a couple extra times, only stuff like that.
Cool. Well, I mean, we kind of spoke about Open Up. Even if you were to reorder this record, I think you would still have to keep Open Up right there in the front. I mean,
I'll give you that.
It's the perfect kickoff song. Tons of energy. Just that like distorted, open up and say. I mean, I think that it is perfect there right at the beginning, and it gives you a good idea of what you're in store for. It's this, early 2000s pop punk that's, chaotic. I wouldn't like say the Punchline sounds like everybody else. I think that it definitely has a unique voice. Do you guys get compared to a lot of other bands, or do you feel like you're lumped in? Does pop punk offend you? I know Chris Fafalios doesn't like that term very much.
No, I mean, we were very much pop punk, but I think some of these songs were more pop punk than others. Like I was saying, some of those, Deep Elm Records influences, even though they were subtle, I think separated us a little bit from that. But I'm not offended by pop punk. I mean, the albums that Sean O'Keefe recorded are such a classic part of the sound of this era. I think it's so cool.
Well, I think the awesome thing is, like, even in Open Up and even going into Not Afraid. I mean, honestly, this will probably be my theme throughout, but you guys do a really awesome job coming up with very catchy melodies throughout the song and stuff that just, keeps you interested. That's the way, that's kind of my terminology with songs that I just click with. And so, kind of going through this album, these, the tonality, the melodies that you guys put together. I'd love to know, like, as you're writing these songs and putting those guitar lines and the lyrics to them and the way that you're delivering that, do you hear to yourself like, wow, that's a great melody? Like these songs all feel like they have that. But so kudos to you guys for that. But the question is, do you hear that, or did you hear that back then, and did you believe that?
I feel like every idea came from, some idea that's heard in the ether, and somebody comes to practice and says, "Hey, I have this one part," and then Paul would typically like take that part and add something musically interesting about it, something like some little musical quirk to it. And we would just keep adding parts. And then we would go to Sean O'Keefe and he would, chop it up and kind of streamline it a little bit. But we're definitely always a melody first band. I would say more likely we're coming up with the melodies and then fitting words to those melodies.
Okay. And you would do that. Would you be the one to put those words to the melodies mostly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We would all contribute. There's never really been a one way to come at it.
Got it. Yeah, you make it seem so easy. Like, yeah,
But I
it's
mean,
just-
some of them, like I do, Coldest of Calendars was one song that, I was playing acoustic guitar or I picked up a guitar and like that song came out, bam, all right there. Those happen every now and then. But that was like the case only for that song on this album.
So looking at Not Afraid, I want to ask you a little bit about song structure, because I think for this album, and you guys have spoken about it a little bit, not every song falls into that like typical song structure. I'm curious how much, Sean tried to push you guys to do, Not Afraid is one that does kind of follow that, like a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus kind of thing. But a lot of the songs on Action don't. So was he trying to like kind of mold you guys to fit song structures more, or was that kind of like a natural
I think it was
thing?
probably we were trying to do that based on feedback that we heard, and he probably played along with it or wanted to do that a little bit too. But we realized that we had an issue with making songs that were really long, and I don't think we wanted to be the band that made just really long songs. We wanted to make little bops too.
Not Afraid is definitely a little bop. It's a song that has the same energy, the tempo, if not more, than Open Up. A killer chorus. I'm always a huge sucker for those the call and response and the harmonies. Back in the day, Brand New, Taking Back Sunday. These are bands that were doing that a whole lot in the emo screamo-ish genre, and crazy. Is that what I'm gonna like? Just those going back and so many harmonies across this record. Anything else about Not Afraid kind of stand out to you?
People always bring up the robot maids from Rocky IV.
Yeah,
the reference to Rocky IV and the robot maid that they had. That was definitely, that's Chris sings that part, and that's such a Chris lyric in the best way. That song was super fun, and like I said, we knew we wanted to have a song that started with vocals and went into the song, somewhat influenced by a Goldfinger song, Miles Away.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
How deep is your love? And the song
Yep.
comes in.
Love that. So cool. No wonder I really connected with that song. And then the next one, The World, I liked. I love this one a lot too. I was thinking about the words. I feel like it's pretty straightforward, but I do feel like I've been in this type of situation before in my life with somebody that, congratulations. I guess you're always right. It's like, and maybe I'm kind of taking that the wrong way. Maybe it's not just your significant other that you're so different with, but they have their way of thinking has to be the right way, or it causes a problem. I think that's novel, and I connected with this one. So
Nice. We pretty much exclusively wrote about relationships gone wrong or going wrong.
it works. It works.
Yeah,
I
the guitar
like
in
it.
this one I think makes it a little. This song is a little bit different, especially from the first two. There's also this out of the I think the second chorus, the guitar is basically like its own hook. It just kind of goes off. The song has like a lot of ups and downs, and I'm totally here for it. And you know, it's got you. I mean, that might be the longest pronunciation of the word "this" several times in that one. Is that difficult to sing when you do it live?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's one point where you're just like belting it out. And again, one of the things that I like about this record and about Punchline is that even though there are things that like repeat in the songs, but they're always kind of done differently. So for example, the this, and sometimes the choruses, you change like a word here and there. So even the songs that have some repetitive nature, you're kind of switching it up and keeping people on their toes.
Definitely part of what a good producer does is to make sure that the song is repetitive, but also remains interesting. So that was great to see how Sean, made each part, it comes back, but this time it has, this new element.
Well, I'm gonna start this next one off with a little bit of an apology, or maybe it's not an apology, because every single time that I've seen you guys and you do a show, and there's a point in the show, and this is probably a long time ago, but there's always a point in the show where sometimes you would ask people like what they want to hear, and I would be the one guy who would always scream heart transplant, and you would always seem pretty like, okay, that sounds good, like you wanted people to request that one, and I was always the guy who would ask for heart transplant. I think I remember it specifically at this like acoustic show when it might have been when Just Say Yes came out. You do like acoustic in-store like FYE performances for that one.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember it was a smaller, intimate thing, and I'm never shy about screaming out the song that I want to hear. So heart transplant's one that definitely got to me. Loved it from back in the day. It's the song is kind of a bit of a roller coaster, right? There's a lot going on. It's chaotic, but I love it. The lyrics in the beginning, they're kind of like frantic, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was frantic. That one was straight from the heart. I remember I could hear the even a heart transplant wouldn't show you how I feel, would it? Line in my head for a couple weeks, and sometimes you'll have an idea, just kind of think about it before you ever pick up a guitar. And then I remember when I finally did pick up a guitar, which was because I was scorned by some girlfriend who probably broke up with me. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but when I finally picked up a guitar, like a whole lot of the song, basically all of the parts with words came out in a fury very, very quickly. And then when I took it to practice, and we really labored over like the details of what each instrument was doing, and that song I think we knew that song was a special one for sure.
In the number 4 spot, that's the power spot, the cleanup spot. I mean, the chorus itself, it's that classic like early 2000s just pop that even a heart. The words, the way that it's presented is I think maybe the first time that I listened to the record, this was one of the ones that stood out to me like right away. And this was the one that was like on repeat, like over and over, because again, there's a lot to it. It's chaotic, it's up and down. The whole like, what did I do? That whole section is totally different than like the rest of it. Everything kind of slows down, becomes even like a little bit of a jam sesh. Then there's this like total like stop start before what did I do again? And then the outro chorus just has all those harmonies. You got the scream in there, and of course Chris knows
the thing that we say about that time, about those days of writing songs, was that if we were at practice writing a song, if you have a part, all right, we'll put it in the song. You have a part, it wasn't this or that, it was this will go after that. And that song was one of those where there were just so many different parts, but we had room for them all.
It freaking worked. Chris does the scream, right?
He does, yeah.
He's the
Can I
resident
ask
screamer.
you? Can you also do the scream?
I do some screams in that song. I think I get a little bit screamy. I think it's so funny that we did a little screaming in the screaming era.
A little bit, yeah. That's how long did it take you and Chris to master that? Like, because I can't figure it out. So
I would just do it and blow my voice out, so I don't think that I mastered it. I think I just went for it.
see,
And
I feel a lot better.
I don't think that worked. I wouldn't recommend it.
Just because people out there are like, oh, it's easy. You just have to go like this, like you're swallowing, but then you make your voice go up, and then it. Don't move your vocal cords though, because I'm like, what? What are you talking about? But that's cool. I always ask that question, but I love it. I love it. I love that in songs. So I'm glad you guys do it.
And Chris
Anything
knows
else
that
about
I'm a
songs?
sucker for the gang vocals. You guys have the gang vocals put in as just like a nice little fade out towards the end. It's pretty interesting. They're not like highlighted. They're kind of low lighted.
Steve, if we were going to do a high school never ends drinking game, gang vocals would be one of the key words, because Steve does talk about, he loves that. All you gotta do is put gang vocals in, and he's like, that's it. That's the end of it.
I feel like most Punchline songs have gang vocals. We're a big GV band.
There you go.
It's fun to do it live too, right? Because you have, three guys that are singing, the crowd is singing.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Anything else on the heart transplant? All right. So, Steve, I think maybe you should kick this one off and give us some of your thoughts on this, because I know this is one of the songs at the beginning of the show that you identified as one of the songs that means the most to you, or one of the several, and it's number 5, "Time in a Picture." So why don't you go ahead and kick this one off and kind of talk about why that is?
This song starts with this guitar riff that I had that I would always play, and I thought that I thought it made me sound like I was an okay guitar player. Not that it's that complicated, but then Paul came up with a way for the band to come in and play a little bit, not offbeat, but in a way that focuses on some of the accents and makes it interesting. So this song's very much not pop punk. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I remember just in this era writing the lyrics to the verses of this song and being sentimental boys. And this song is called Time in a Picture, just about like all the stuff that we were doing and the memories that we were making at the time. It's kind of a little bit of an abstract message in the song. There's a lot lyrically going on, but to me, it's about just all of the touring that we were doing and the music that we were making.
I kind of always pictured it as like one of those road songs, song that's kind of talking. And you guys have another one later on, but yeah. And so talk about that. There's there's a super long outro that flows into Coldest of Calendars. Was it like a conscious thing that you were trying to? I know I feel like I remember one, like the Phoenix CX records, like their goal was that every song would go the end of one into another, or try and sound like it was one continuous thing. What were you guys' thoughts on that?
That was certainly an example of us saying, let's, incorporate this element that we like from this other band into a record. But we wanted to have songs that, a moment where a song flowed into another song. But those two songs were in odd keys to mesh together, and they were in different time signatures and pretty different tempos. So we thought it was cool that we figured out how to do it. Sean O'Keefe definitely helped with some of the drum elements and the hi-hat, but that's cool. I appreciate that you appreciate that.
So both songs were written separately, and then when it came to laying down the album, you guys were just trying to figure out how to like meld that together and make that transition.
We actually recorded a demo that was the that was that outro as its own idea. And then I don't remember how it must have gotten swallowed up into Time in a Picture. I don't remember how it went down. But yeah, but they were not written as like one big song.
A magnum opus. Action.
Well,
magnum
I'm reading the lyric, just looking at the lyrics again, and can you draw that conclusion though? Like, is there any way you can think about it as one big story between the two? I think you might be able to. I'm not sure. Like, and if that's not true, how does Coldest of Calendars, in your opinion, Steve? What does that song mean to you, or what is it about?
Chris, it's cold in Pittsburgh. It's just about Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
in
that
winter.
song. That song was about being away from your love and being cold on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Just
you're right.
being sad
cold.
about a girl on tour, essentially.
You're more sad about a girl when it's February in Pittsburgh because it's just miserable.
Yeah. It's cold out there on the road in our nation's gas stations.
Well, I think at least with this record, this is the first time that we've kind of heard like a ballad, right? I don't know. I guess that's how it might be categorized. Do you think of this as a ballad?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I love it when in the middle of a record, you kind of hear a ballad, like see what a band, how they can like slow it down, what else they can do. My favorite part is I love when he says, where you say, it feels like I'm sleeping outside. Indoors, there's a light. I can see your eyes. It's like such a sweet, sweet lyric. Such a sweet lyric.
Like I said, I think that this whole song, came straight from the muse, just, out to the pen and paper.
Yeah, and I also like the last. I don't know if I can call it a bridge, or I don't know if it's a bridge or if it's just a last verse that's a little bit different. What do you call kind of that last verse? Is that just a verse? I've seen Nights Without Sleep, Days Without Daylight.
I would call that the bridge. So
the bridge.
That was a guest vocal from this guy, Justin Oliver, who was the singer of the bands Heaven and Breakfast and The Casual Lean. What a talented guy. I was just listening to some of their back catalog yesterday. I mean, this is a band, his band's like, nobody knows them, and it's some of the most influential stuff. Like, we played a ton of shows with Heaven and Breakfast, and we had Justin sing on this song, which I think he tracked. I don't know where he tracked his vocal, but he gave me his vocal it was like a WAV file on a CD that we sent to Sean or something. But I love how it came out, and man, Justin writes some great songs.
It's really cool that you would like give away a part to somebody who you thought was talented, especially on a record that's
absolutely.
Like it's pretty pivotal. It's like your debut full length record.
Yeah, we had a record label later on called Modern Short Stories, and we put out Justin's album, which was under the name Justin Oliver. It's very good.
Cool. And so at the end of this song, there's this like, what's the tone at the end? There's like this strange tone. Like there's like a hard stop, and then there's kind of a tone that fades out. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
In Coldest of Calendars?
Yeah. I'm sure you don't play the tone.
I don't know.
I was listening to it on Spotify, in my car, and I just noticed that tone, and I hadn't noticed it before. I had listened to the record a million times, and I was just, what is
it?
It
might be an EBO. We used an EBO all over this album, and in a couple spots. It's in Just Getting Started, and then in that outro of Time in a Picture that leads into Coldest of Calendars, there's some EBO.
I don't think I know what an EBO is. I know what an oboe is.
An EBO is this little device that you hold on your fretboard, and it resonates these certain frequencies. It's pretty neat. You should look it up.
I'm gonna check it out.
EBO.
I don't play the guitar, so it won't help me in my personal life. But
well, if you did, you would use an EBO.
Could be a good Christmas gift idea
for Steve.
For anybody.
I'm getting you an EBO this year, Steve.
You should.
You need a guitar too. But that brings up a question. Is he right? Is Wingman Steve correct? Is this not a song that you normally play live?
Which one?
It is not. I would say that this is the song This is the song that we collectively like the least on this album, I think, or maybe that's just me and Paul. That it's not that we dislike it, but this one always felt like it was a little more of our style of the previous or like a few albums back.
Gotcha.
All right.
And
What
then
about
kind of
Getting There is
transition.
Getting By?
Yeah, let's talk about that one.
Oh, this is one of my favorites and a band favorite. It was Sean's idea to do something different with the drums in the beginning, and PJ, our drummer, showed him some ideas, and Sean latched on to the, like, I think one of the first ideas he showed him, which is this like tom part. And this song was a, inspirational. We're gonna get there. It might take a while to get there, but and so much might change on the way. We were on tour playing shows all the time, and this was all we did back home. Everybody's living their lives and doing very normal things and starting to become adults. So the contrast was becoming more and more stark, and I think that this song was in part about that a little bit.
Yeah, again, I mentioned that sometimes you guys do this thing where you kind of repeat similar things, but you change up the words, the AOA, KOA, are you A-OK? I think that was pretty clever. This one seems to me, I don't know how to describe it, maybe just a little like faster and like chunkier, rockier. What's the word I'm looking for?
Heavy.
Heavier? Yeah. There's a couple of songs where it's like, I want to say hardcore. It doesn't sound like hardcore to me, but it sounds a little bit heavier than
Right.
some of the other, maybe just a little less poppy. That's probably the way to do it.
Right. And I mean, there was definitely hardcore in our world and on the edges of what we listened to. So there was definitely some of that influence there for sure.
This sounds like a tough scream too. This is one that maybe, I don't know, Chris might have blown his voice out on it. This one sounds like it hurts.
If you do it right, you don't, right? If you do it right, you don't mess up your voice that much. From what I'm told.
Yeah, he's okay. He does a great scream.
There you go. This is right up my alley. I love this song. I'm always gravitating towards the heavier sound. Not that I dislike the other stuff, but I just really like this.
We made a music video for this song, and we talk about now how we feel like we should have made a music video for Heart Transplant, because that was the song that everybody seemed to like most. I mean, Heart Transplant is one of our biggest songs, no doubt. And yet I feel like we were always making videos for the songs that we wanted people to like, but Getting There Is Getting By was one that we really liked. But we made that after Paul left the band. So that was maybe something that I sang a little more, which is why we did that.
And I'll say him leaving the band, tune into Steve's podcast, a band called Punchline, because they get into a lot of detail on that and everything that they went through. And it's really, really interesting to listen to. I don't want to go through it again here, but I thought that stuff, you guys really talked about things that's like behind the scenes, and your average, fan doesn't really know these things. And you guys were not afraid to kind of get into everything throughout the history of the band so far from all the episodes.
No,
so
absolutely. Cool. It's fun to go back and tell it how it happened. It's a documentary podcast. So everybody wants to look it up. It's called A Band Called Punchline, but it's a highly edited documentary podcast where everybody, who was in the band then and the people we were working with contribute audio for, and it's been super cool to go back and revisit how it all went down. And feel like it's brought us together. I feel like we're having a little bit of a good time right now. We're in a special place, and I feel like it's in part from us all talking on the podcast.
It also will help you learn how to say Steve's last name, because that one I was never sure of until I listened to the podcast, but now I got it down.
Soboslai. There you go.
I don't know why. Once, you'll never forget it. Soboslai. There you go.
I don't know if I ever heard it out loud before the podcast.
You guys say
I
it
just
great.
read it.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Steve, why is he right? Why is he right? And who is he? Who are you guys referencing?
What I do think is cool is that beyond this album, we would demo and come up with so many more song ideas than we would ever record. But for this album, we went in and we recorded everything that we had, which means that it's really reflective of what we were going through. Like the lyrics are really reflective of what we were going through in that short period of time. But I mean, most of these songs were about like, the same person or two. So these were all just like highlighting ups and downs in, a year or two of my life and the other guys.
Yeah, to me, this is a classic. It's a classic pop punk jam. The pre-chorus, the chorus is just it's awesome.
I love that. I appreciate
easy to sing along to.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm sure I don't want to downplay any of the heartbreak that you've been through when writing these songs, but it's something that you can just drive along to, sing out loud, real loud, and just have a good time with.
For sure. This song, it reminds me of the songs on our album Major Motion Picture, which is 2 albums before this.
But isn't it funny how you can take a sad theme and make it into a song that you can drive and have fun to? Like it's the power of the music. It's just, the music itself kind of overtakes. And at the same time, you still feel the emotion of what the song means. I don't think that ever goes away. But, punk and pop punk music just transcends that a little bit. And I always thought that was so awesome. Like, and I joked a couple times about some songs that were not your guys' songs, but other songs that were pretty sad. But I could see myself driving down the highway with the top down and singing them. But yeah, it's just really cool. So I agree with Steve. Like this is just spot on musically, in my book on what I want to listen to, not just in 2002, 2004, or 2005, but now as well.
All right.
Yeah. Are those tones?
I want to say we've been talking about how a lot of these songs were written in moments of, severe heartbreak, and, this, you turn it into a song and a moment of writing music with your friends and going out and playing shows. And all these years later, I mean, that's what you remember. Like you don't remember who the song was about, or like, it's not, at least for me, those songs don't hurt at all like they did, when they were written. I mean, they don't hurt at all. They're just tied to like the memories that I have with the band and what we've done, which is incredible to take a sad thing and make it into a good thing like that.
Are the tones that kind of sound electronic? Are those are they electronic, or are they just guitars in the beginning of the song?
Those were probably real drums that were sampled. This was an era of Pro Tools excitement. So I think Sean was making some loops and having fun.
Makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Battle Scars, because this is another one of the ones that that was always a favorite of mine. I feel like back in these days there were 2 songs that kind of felt, they're not similar songs, but Battle Scars and 70 times 7 by Brand New are these like bangers towards the end of albums that just like slay, and they don't have this like typical formula, but they stand out. Like this song, it starts real soft, it goes from 0 to fucking 100 like real quick with that first chorus. The chorus just has so much emotion, and then it goes into that kind of like sped up vocally thing. And then you guys do the intro verse again, but you do it loud. Again, this one is just one that always stood out to me. And I love at the end how you kind of change the word, this time make me proud, when before, it was different lyrics. So when you say, who wants to hear a song, it's either Battle Scars or Heart Transplant. That's what I'm yelling out every time.
For sure. I think those are probably the two biggest songs from this album. Battle Scars we wrote this in the studio, or we didn't have this put together when we went to record Action, but then we needed one more song. And I think that I probably had the chorus part, the I'm sorry part, and we built the song around that. But that was cool to make, put a song together in the studio. But that was definitely the last, like, seen as the last one put together for the album.
You were just feeling extra emo that day. I feel like if there's a song that could be called an emo song, this is the one. I loved it.
All right.
I don't think I have anything additional to add. I think Steve hit it right on the head. I will second the fact that I really do like when a band takes that first verse or first piece and brings it back later different, whether
Cool.
it be harder or faster. Either way, like that dynamic to me is it works every time. So I applaud you guys for that, because that's what hooked me. So
That's cool.
yeah. Yeah, cool. So a sharp is a flat. Steve, Wingman Steve, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, this to me, like, this is a great song because it's a straightforward concept. You guys are saying, like, we love music, we want to be a band, right? This is like again, there's another song that the starting line does, which say hello to Jersey. I can't think of the name, but I love hearing bands like talk about liking being a band and liking playing music. I think that's cool. I'm curious, how does it feel playing a song like this, like nowadays, when you go back and play it? I would think it's probably not usually in the set list, but when you're doing the action tour, kind of, this is like an early beginning song. Does it feel different playing it?
This song has more lasting power, I feel like, than a lot of the other ones. And we've brought this one back over the years. The style of this one, like, still resonates with me for sure. It doesn't feel like, I wouldn't say that it feels dated. And yeah, like, this song sonically represents so much how we felt at the time, and just driving around in our van and playing shows and being tired and being frustrated and wanting so badly to get to the next level, to know that what we were doing was worth it. And
And this is another one that's harder. This was closer to like a hard. I think feeling
Yes.
there's parts of it that come close to like being like a little bit like melodic hardcore kind of thing.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I like the lyric a lot, where you talk about, the pressure is on from everyone. This little band has got to succeed. I will take a hammer to things that I've always owned, and I'll erase the memory of the people that I've always known. Like that to me, like, and I'm just interpreting that, like, you're basically saying there was a ton of pressure on you guys,
Mhm.
that it was self-inflicted, because you wanted this to work and you would do whatever it took to make it work.
Mhm.
Am I reading that correctly?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This
Hopefully-
song has cello on it, which
I was going to say, hopefully you did not take a hammer to everything that you owned, and you just kind of.
we did not. That was Paul who sang it, so he might have, but I haven't heard that he has.
And
Very
maybe
cool.
the lone F-bomb. I think this is the lone F-bomb on the album, right?
Wow.
Explicit content.
That's right. Did they stick that on the sticker for one?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're allowed one. I think maybe if it's like 2 or 3, you got to put the sticker on.
Hey, we play by the rules.
That's right.
But you got to get that one in there. I love it. All right. You guys have anything else to say about Sharp as a Flat? You want to move on?
I should have included a Sharp as a Flat with my list earlier in our talk about my favorite songs, playing them now. Definitely one of my faves, a real special one.
It's awesome. Well, I mean, on that note, you mentioned A Beautiful Green. What is it that sticks out to you? Is this a song that you just look back and this is one of your favorites to play, or is it just one of your favorites that you guys have written, or all the above?
This one was, I think we knew we wanted to make a song that had that was built off of a drum loop. So this was one that we were getting a little more creative with. It wasn't written or put together the way that the other ones were. It had a little bit of a different process, and Sean definitely helped us figure out a way to do it more, so it sounded like it was programmed to some degree, but also had very organic sounding drums. And the song is about one of my friends who he didn't he went to Temple for college in Philadelphia, and I don't think he went out there until maybe he was 25 or something, but he talked about it and wanted to get get out of town. We were in our early 20s, and it just seemed like he talked about it so much that we wrote a song about it. And so that's what this song is about. Which he eventually left and like went on to do great things in the film industry. So we're all real proud of him, and I think the song had something to do with it.
That's cool. I find this to be a pretty chill song, despite like the drums. The drums do sound a little louder, a little harder, and there's a little bit of electronics mixed in. But I like that, we're getting different punchlines, we're getting different things. It's not the same thing throughout the entire record.
Hell yeah. We just played some shows that were not just playing action, and we still played this song. This one's real special to our band.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're at the end of the record here. We are not done yet. We are just getting started. And there's not a whole lot of albums where the last track is just a banger, but this is one of them. I mean, I feel like you said that you kind of wrote this to close out the album. I mean, it's got that belting out chorus, and it's just kind of like a positive message. I'm not done yet. I'm just getting started, guys. It can speak to you as people. It can speak to you as a band. It can speak to you in a broken relationship or something like that. And it's got a whole bunch of whoa-ohs, and those always work out well. I feel like this one is pretty constant in set lists as well. I think I remember seeing you guys close with this like many times.
This song is in E major, and there's a lot of songs in E major on this album that's more for being able to like really hammer it on the guitar. The keys like pretty high for both of us to sing in, but I think we always just favor that for like those rockin' guitars. So when you mention that, it makes me think of like all the E majorness going on the album. But this song, I remember we put together at practice, and I just remember playing that verse part, the guitar lick in the verse, that arpeggiated riff, playing that for what felt like days and days, and making this our opus as much as we could.
Is there any other reason outside of what Wingman Steve had mentioned for this being the last song? Like, why was it such a poignant statement that you made? Like, this is made to be the last one. Any other reason?
I think that we just wanted to make our mark, that we were going to be around, because that's how we really felt like the level of dedication was that extreme.
And you not only did you make your mark, but a lot of longevity. You guys have been around for a long time, still out there making music, still out there touring and having a blast. It sounds like you guys are having a lot of fun.
We have a good marriage.
Yeah, I think that it's
hacky sack.
It's to your credit.
We play a lot of hacky sack.
A lot of hacky sack. I tried to have my son play hacky sack at one point in time, and he had no idea what it was. So he's a 10-year-old kid. So hacky sack is prevalent now, I guess, with the up and comers. But
cool.
Got to teach them, right? Got to teach them.
Yeah, we made punchline hacks, and it's nice that we use them sometime if nobody has one on us. We'll run over to the merch table and we'll grab a punchline hacky sack.
Nice. I'll have to get one of those.
They're beautiful. They're one of our finest merch items.
Now, you know what is really nice is the scarf. I got the scarf. Scarf is
great.
Nice, dude. I love that scarf.
I'm glad you're enjoying the scarf.
It's like the only scarf I wear. I'm not a scarf dude, but I wear that scarf.
That scarf you are. Well, we did it. We got through the entire album, and honestly, it was really cool to hear your thoughts on the song, Steve. I mean, I think that through and through, what I was going to say earlier was, it's a testament to you guys that this album holds up like it does, not just for us being from that era and enjoying this music then, but I think it's safe to say that a lot of people that enjoy punk and pop punk music through through today probably feel very similar in terms of the makeup of this album and what it means to them, whether it's from the music or the emotion or both. I think it's just a testament to you guys what you were able to do here with this piece, and it's probably really difficult. Makes it even more difficult to go to the next segment because the next segment is something we call ranking it. So for you, Steve, I think it's going to be pretty easy because you pretty much already told us what your favorites were, but we're going to make you say them again.
Sure.
Maybe it's a different order than what you'd put them out there. So maybe that's going to be, the twist here. And maybe you just threw us off completely. And, it's not those songs. But for everybody out there that doesn't know, for ranking it, what we normally do is we rank our top 3, 5, 10, 15, 100 favorite songs on any album or whatever else we're talking about for that day. Today, we're not going to do top 100 Punchline songs. Someday, maybe. But we're going to do top 3 on the album Action. So Steve, not Wingman Steve, but the other Steve that is from the band Punchline. We're going to have you start. We always have guests start. So why don't you give the people out there that are listening your top 3 favorite songs on this album?
All right. I'm going to go with Getting There Is Getting By, A Beautiful Green, and Just Getting Started.
And so Just Getting Started, your number 1?
I guess ranking it, they do need to be ranked.
Makes it tougher.
Yeah, okay, let's put Just Getting Started number 1.
It's like, these are all my babies. I can't.
Yeah.
You know what?
It's very hard.
You're a good sport. I mean, we talked to some other bands and they're like, oh, I can't rank these. Come on, man. It's tough, but
I'm playing along.
Appreciate that.
Anytime.
You didn't flinch. You went right in there. So no, good stuff. Good stuff. It's hard to do, right? But all right, cool. Well, thank you for that. And Steve, what about Wingman Steve? What were your top 3 being a huge fan of this album?
Yeah, I think that the top 3 was actually pretty easy for me to put together because the album, I just have so much longevity with it. It's got to be number 3, Just Getting Started, number 2, Heart Transplant, number 1, Battle Scars. I think that one, the belting out, man, it's awesome. It's my favorite.
This was not easy for me because I liked a lot more songs than just those were good ones. They were all great ones, but it was hard to choose because I had so many different songs on this album that kind of stuck out in a very positive way that I could put in my top 3. So for me, it was Time in a Picture at number 3, a really great song. It was Why Is He Right? I really, really like that one.
Okay.
Number 2, and then my number 1 is Getting There and Is Getting By. That was the one favorite. So a little bit different than you guys, but those just hit the right chord for me in my head. So
I love it.
Give Punchline Action another spin after you listen to our show here. And in a surprise segment, Steve is actually going to go through the entire 37 Everywhere album with us right now. No, I'm just kidding. That's about it. We've taken enough of your time. Maybe we'll do that another time. That would be super fun. But Steve, tell everybody where to follow the band, where to follow you, your band, the podcast, all the things you want to plug. Throw them out there.
Yeah, our website is punchlion.com, and most of our handles are that. Our podcast is a band called Punchline. We put out a newer song called Find Yourself. If you want to give that a listen, we're doing some more action shows this year with the Spill Canvas, and we'll be doing an action show in Pittsburgh somewhere and probably some other cities when we get around to figuring it out. And if anybody wants to check out, I put out a record with my project Blue of Colors last year, a full length called Long Time Coming. I'm super duper proud of it if you want to check it out. And I think, I also have another project called Maybe Aliens with Heath from Midtown is in that project. And JB is the singer and Carl is in the band. Great band. Maybe Aliens and Blue of Colors. If you want to check those out, we could use some listeners.
Absolutely.
So,
Heck yeah. Thanks.
see, it's even better, right? It's not just checking out action. You've given me more things to do, Steve, because I'm definitely going to check those out.
Nice.
All of you guys should too. I'm always up for listening.
Have you seen the Punchline music special on Amazon?
Yes,
I have.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
That's
That's
where
cool.
is it Chris that eats a peach for the first time?
Yes, it is.
For some reason, that was the scene that I like remember.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, thank you. I'm going to thank you again, Steve, for coming on. It was a blast talking about the album. Thank you for your time. We really enjoyed it. And hopefully all of you out there that listened to the show today did as well. We'd love to hear from you if you did. Hit us up on the socials, Instagram, Facebook, and most importantly, Discord, where you can talk to us in real time, right? We're there. We talk back. We have great conversations. But links to all of our socials are easily found. All you need to do is go to our hub, our webpage, www.hsnepod.com, and that will link you directly to all of those different pages and things.
Yep. And while you're at hsnepod.com, check out our shop. We have some t-shirts, hats, hoodies, bunch of cool stuff, mugs. Support the show, support the Dragon Wagon Independent Podcast Network. And while you're at it, check your Spotify and your Apple Podcasts and just give us 5 stars and a nice review and say that Steve Soboslai is an awesome dude. Put that right there in the review because you are an awesome dude. Thank you for joining us. We will be back next week with another all new episode. Until then, keep on rocking your dad bods, throw up your rock hands, and blast the pop punk.
In the mid-1960s, the world's smartest TV producers brought together 4 young musicians to create a TV show that was years ahead of its time. I'm talking, of course, about the Monkees. And you, comedy, music, pop culture nerd, probably love the show, but don't realize it. That's why I, Monkees superfan Takuro McCullough, sit down with a variety of guests to watch every Monkees episode and discuss their glory on the Monkees podcast. Whether you're already a fan or have never seen an episode, the Monkees podcast is for you, as we discuss the Monkees phenomenon, hilarious antics, and deep fandom. So check it out at monkeyspodcast.com. That's PAWDCAST, or wherever podcasts are found.
It's Dragon Wagon.